Hello my friends, it's nice journey of HTML CSS interview questions with all of you. But I am observing that most of the people are not following my complete playlist, so they are having lots of doubts. So please follow the complete playlist of HTML CSS interview questions to get all your doubts resolved and be confident in each and every interview. Hello my friends. It's time to see grid in CSS. This is very important question for an interview as well as for a construct perspective also. Firstly, grid is two-dimensional layout method for laying out items in row or column. It is also used for creating the layout of our page most of the time. Then we can say to make grid container, one should add display grid to our container. And how it exactly works, let's see that particular concept in our VS Code. Here I have already created some boxes and wrapped up these boxes inside a container. Then I have written some CSS for these boxes. Once the things are done, our UI is looking something like this. But I want to have two-dimensional view. For that, I will use display grid property. So I will write dot container. Inside that we will write display grid. Once that is done, we will use something called as grid template columns, and here we can specify how many columns you want. Suppose I want 3 columns, and first column should take width of 320 pixel. Second column should take width of 400 pixel, and third column should take width of 100 pixel. Once that is done, our UI looks something like this. But someone wants that our this particular two-dimensional layout should divide the whole horizontal space into 7 parts. First column should take 2 by 7th of the space, second column should take 4 by 7th of the space, and last column should take 1 FR. That means 1 by 7th of the space. For that we have concept of FR. So we will write 2FR for the first column, 4FR for the second column, and 1FR for the last column. After that, our UI will look something like this, what we exactly want. But here, there is no space between the column and for row also. For that, we have concept of grid gap. Grid gap of 2 rem. Any value we can give? Yeah. So now we have the proper spacing between the row and the columns. But suppose if I want to provide the grid gap only for the column or different values, so we can write it differently. Yeah, now we are providing the grid gap only for the columns, not for the rows. The same way we can also write grid row gap. Suppose it is 1 rem. Yes. So in this way, we can provide the proper spacing between the columns and the row as well. Once we are done with this, we need to actually merge up these 2 columns or 2 rows. How we can do that? Let's see. We will actually work with our first box. Now we will write grid columns. Then we have start. Here we will specify from which column you are talking about. So first column. And then next property will be where we should end. Then grid column end will be suppose third column. Let's see our UI now. So we have successfully merged our first 2 columns. But here we have written grid column start 1. So it has started from 1 and grid column end 3. So it has excluded the third column. So in this way grid column start and end works. Similarly, you can do for the rows as well. Please try that out. Once we are done with this, now it's time to see how we can use grid template areas and grid area concept. Here I have cleared out my code and have just placed few boxes with container and container is having display grid property and nothing else. After that, my UI is looking something like this. But I want to have some layout like this. Here we have divided our vertical screen into three parts, 1, 2 and 3. That is very important to be noted down. Then horizontally we are dividing our space in 7 columns. First column, the new bar will take only column count 1. Then contents will take 4 columns and the aside will take 2 columns. In this proportion we are dividing our screen. That means header will take total 7 columns itself. Once we are ready with this concept, that means how many column count, how many rows we should divide our screen, then yes, we are happy to go ahead further. And one more thing important here is that we are using 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That means we need 5 divs here. And then we can start our coding. So as I need 5 divs, I have 5 boxes ready with me. Then the next thing will come. How many rows will be there? For us, there are 3 rows. So we will write grid template areas. Grid template areas, and here we will define our rows. The first one, to make it more clear, something like this. Second one, and then third one. Once we are done with this, we need to assign some grid area name to our each and every ID. And how we can do that? Firstly, to the header, we will assign grid area name as header. To the new bar, we will assign grid area name as new. Similarly for the other items too. How we can do that? Let's see. So to our first box, we will write box 1 and inside that we will do grid area. Name will be header. Okay. And for the other 5 boxes, other 4 boxes, we will do the same thing. 3, then 4, then it's 5. So our box 2, we have the new bar. So instead of header, we will put it as a new bar. For our third box, we will use it as a main content or the tag given contents. Okay, it will be content for us. Our fourth ID will be aside. Our fifth ID will be footer for us. Once we are done with this, we can use these grid area names for our layout. So our header will take all the 7 columns. So we will copy this header, paste it 7 times for the first row. 2, 3, 4, 5 is 5, 6 and then 7. The second row will firstly contain new and new will come only 1 times. Only 1 column we will assign to the new bar. So only 1 times for the new bar. Then our content will take 4 columns. So 4 times we will write content, 2, 3 and then 4. And then 2 columns will be given to aside. So we will go there, we will copy the aside. Grid area names are very important here. Aside and aside. With this, we are done with our first 2 rows. Now it's time to fill up our third row as well. So for third row, we have grid area as footer. And this footer will take all 7 columns. So we will paste footer for the 7 times. 5, 6 and 7. With this, our UI will be completed. So now we are able to see that things are looking fine. But yes, our content, nav and aside should take much more height. For that, we will again go to our Visual Studio. And here we will write height 400 pixel for nav bar and same height will be copied to the content and aside as well. Yes, now our UI is looking something like the layout which has been given to us for the creation. With this, we will sum up this video tutorial. And let's meet in our next video tutorial with some more interesting concept. Thank you very much for now.